Hello everybody, and welcome to artofdino.com and saveearth.us. And I have got an interesting find today from an old paper from December 10th, 1887, in the Arizona Tombstone paper. And it is about divining rods, or dowsing. And it gives a brief history. It's not a very big article, but it's enough to make you ponder what these were used for, and what and why and how they came to be, and exactly what the intention the controllers had for using them, and then basically making them be belittled and like laughed at after that. So here is the article right here from the Deadwood Pioneer, which is also very fitting because I bet they used it a lot to find some interesting things over there. So take a listen to this article, and I'm going to theorize some stuff. So here we go. The divining rod from the Deadwood Pioneer. And keep in mind, it was called a divining rod, and then it became known as a dowsing. So they wanted to get that divine element out of it. So here we go. Listen to this. The history of the uses of the divining rods shows that they were first used in antiquity, mainly or wholly for moral purposes. Sure. That in the Middle Ages, their employment was for a long period confined to the discovery of material objects. That toward the end of the 17th century, the moral use was again asserted, and that in the 18th century, the divining rod was relegated to the material sphere and assumed the comparatively modest functions in the discharge of which it still lingers among us. Very interesting wordage there, but it's funny how they used it to find things before the 17th century, and then it went back to a moral use. So they're kind of going back and forth between the purpose of this. But I think that it was used, divining was used to find divine things and elements of God. And back in the day, the ancient godlike genius master civilization, finding relics from them. If there was a rod that could help find precious metals, golds, and all these amazing treasures and idols from the past, they would definitely call it a divining rod. And it would be more important than just finding water. It would be for finding way more stuff. And they must have had that because they cleared this place out perfectly and left very few traces and secrets underneath, although there are still tons to be found. But here we go. It will be remembered that the Egyptian sorcerers confronted by Moses carried rods, as Moses and Aaron also did. Those could be electrical. They could be something totally different. I have a feeling there was a lot of use for rods. The prophet Hosea denounces the use of rods for the divination by the Jews. Not sure what they did with it, but probably something intense. According to another prophet, the king of Babylon consulted rods or arrows to decide his course. The Scythians, Persians, and Medes used them. They were used throughout the Orient, Tartaria, and by the Turks for divination, also by the ancient Germans as related by Tacitus. The application of the divining rods in historical antiquity was mainly or wholly moral. That is, it was employed to detect guilt, decide future events, advise courses of action, etc. They do not want to tell you that it was there to find hidden treasure, although they will right now, but not hidden ancient civilizations that they destroyed. So listen to this and listen to the countries that it was employed in and used mostly. The use of the rod to discover hidden treasure or metallic ore became general in Germany and was extended thence through Flanders, England, Sweden, France, Italy, and Spain before the 17th century, right before the reset, or pretty much right maybe after. Right before or after or during the reset. But if you think about Flanders, England, all those amazing buildings, Italy, incredible buildings, France, amazing buildings, Spain, unreal buildings. So they were digging, they were looking for these, they were finding treasure with these rods that they definitely lost the power over time. However you charged it, whatever metal was used, whatever special quality these were embedded with has gone lost. And now in our time, they use sticks to find water and different things, or a couple pieces of little metal put together. But I guarantee you that has been absolutely destroyed between its two original intention and creation and use from the past, because these people were doing amazing things with it, and nowadays it's used for nothing and not used at all. So here we go. Its use in this country was first known after the discovery of gold in California, Bing, since which it has appeared in every mining camp, and there always were found ignorant and credulous people to give it credence and belief. Yeah, they always put that in. The newspapers are designed to steer you in the wrong direction, and they do it by these wordage. This is like NPR, same exact thing they do all the time. They tell you a little bit of something, kind of lead you one way, and then they kind of close the box on it. So your imagination gets cut and you just don't push any further. You're just like, oh, that's it. They told me, I'm settled with that answer. But I'm not, and you guys aren't either. So I think we have to re-envision and think about what these divining rods were and their true purpose. So I will dive a little further deeper into this. But California, boom, the discovery of gold in California, perfect place to use it, not only for gold, but for that ancient civilization that was there, whether Russian, Spanish, Tartarian, Mongol, anything, Moorish, they were all there. And at one point, people were finding all these treasures, and they probably took them off realm or to some island that's no longer on Google Maps, and who knows, all lost to history, nothing included in our true narrative, and just useless. So here we go, the last one. Last paragraph. The best scientific explanation of the movements of the divining rod was by a French savant, Chevreul, in 1853. He ascribes the movements of the rod to minute, unconscious muscular movements, and these are caused, he thinks, by the imagination, or intention, or unconscious decision, or explanation of the operator. Could be magic. Divination is, they've used the tarot and things. Divination has a weird way of tapping into certain things that almost seem impossible. So whether it's our subconscious and we eternally know this, whether it's connected by the noosphere and we're getting a little bit of vibe from it, or something totally different. And again, the rods that were used, I bet, in the 18th century were 100% different than the ones used pre-times in Europe that were discovering all those civilizations. So keep that in mind as well. That the rod will dip at a certain point, or wish that it would, or even in some minds a fear that it may do so, are all effective causes of the peculiar muscular movement. The application of the rod to the discovery of metals, coal, buried treasure, etc., is shown abundantly to be chimerical. The rules and methods, as well as the asserted performance of its professors, contradict each other, and innumerable failures and exposures have justly covered with ridicule their pretensions. Boom. This article was designed to cut the divining rod down to nothing, basically down to a meaningless, superstitious stick of wood. Meanwhile, in the past, they had all these amazing things, the Egyptians, all these powers, these ethereal connections, all these different things were there. They might have even had a way of using some kind of magnet or something that would connect to an old technology or an old precious metal that would be used. And maybe there was even something you put on this to make it another ore, or a melted ore, or another melted precious metal that you'd put in these rods that would help do it. Everything to make it, basically, I'm sure the older version, the ancient version, was real, and then as time went on, they turned it into a fairy tale, which is exactly what they do with everything. It's how they belittle the human experience, how they belittle everything, and we can't look at it anymore that way. So we have to rethink everything. We have to question all that we've been told in the past and all we've become accustomed to, especially when they are out to eradicate it. Those are the things that must be questioned the most. Whatever they tell us when they're like, this is what you have to believe, this is it, there's nothing fantasy or nothing magical about this, the magic is dead, the nothing has come, the never-ending story, all this stuff. When they tell you all that stuff, you have to think the opposite. They are smooth and good at polluting the minds of the people who don't think too much, but they won't get us. So let's keep reverse engineering this world and find truth wherever we can. Keep digging, and bless you all.